Season 1 of The Last of Us has finished, and now that the dust has settled, I'm going to give my thoughts on the last 2 episodes, as well as the season overall. There have been some great moments in Season 1, but it hasn't been a perfect adaptation. There have been tonal inconsistencies, plot holes, out-of-character moments, and insubstantial, shallow changes. It has been a ride. Episode 8 starts off with David giving a sermon to his community. This is a change I really dislike. David being a religious figurehead for their community comes across as lazy. With what comes up later in the episode, David is just that evil religious trope you always see. Is this a theme for The Last of Us now? The infected are bad, but religious people, those are the real monsters you need to watch out for. I don't know which is more overplayed, fanatical, ignorant, evil religious villains, zombies, or humans being the real monsters. In this case, why not have it all? Ellie is helping Joel as much as she can, but realizes she needs antibiotics. I guess they taught her medicine in Federal School? It's a bit far-fetched, but it's plausible, so I guess I'll let it slide. She goes out hunting to get food for her and Joel. She's really clumsy though and faceplants in the snow. Why are they showing us that Ellie is clumsy? Is this going to come back at all at any point? Spoiler alert, no. No, it's not. It's a waste of a scene. What was it supposed was it supposed to be funny? Was it supposed to be humbling? She then finds a deer and shoots it. But the deer doesn't go down and runs off. She follows the blood in the snow. David and Troy Baker find the deer Ellie shot. It has bled out and died. They try to take the deer, but Ellie sneaks up on them and tells them to stop. They drop their weapons and leave. Now, I have a few issues with this scene. They've just established that Ellie is clumsy, but now she's so silent and stealthy that even having to crunch through snow, she can sneak up within 10 meters of people without being spotted or heard. Can you make up your damn mind? Is she useless and clumsy, or is she Batman? Another issue is that in the game, David and James lay in wait and surprise Ellie, putting her at a disadvantage. She had a bow, and the 2 armed adults were too close, making the situation tense and claustrophobic. He knew she might be able to get 1 arrow off, but nowhere near enough time to knock another arrow. Here, Ellie has a rifle. She could have started shooting from the cover of the trees. There was literally no reason to approach them. Ellie comes across as stupid and naive in this scene, very out of character for her. Thirdly, why does everyone have a gun in this? Who is maintaining all these guns? Where is the gun factory making all the parts for these guns? Where are all the bullets coming from? More sensibly in the game, people had a variety of weapons, with guns being relatively rare. Most had melee weapons. It was still a bit much, but, for the setting, but at least they tried. Also, did they not hear the gunshot earlier? The dialogue here is terrible. Ellie sounds robotic. Is that due to her having to do an American accent? And it just comes out really weirdly? Is this the best take that they could get? So after Ellie gives up her advantage of being hidden, she negotiates with David. He can have half the deer for antibiotics. So they sit and wait for James to return with the medication. The game again did this better as David was a mystery, so we didn't know if he was telling the truth about his community or not. And then infected attacked, so we had to work with David to stay alive. The revelation then felt more impactful. You also didn't know his plan afterwards. You could make an educated guess, but they didn't just straight up tell you. The show insists on telling us. Here is a reason why the people of Kansas City are patrolling and killing people. Here is a reason why they show up at town the Ellie and Joel are staying at. Mystery works so much better. It gives the viewer a surprise like Ellie and Joel would have. It makes the viewer curious. To me, it comes across as being insecure in what you're writing. You need a bit of confidence in yourself that your building blocks add up, and confidence in your audience so they'll be able to see the building blocks and make sense of it. Spoilers for Game of Thrones, so skip forward 30 seconds if you didn't want to know. These writers could have just gone ahead at the very start, having Ned say, "Robert, let me introduce you to my family. This is Arya, Sansa, Rob, Bran, and Rickon. Theon over there is my ward because we defeated his family in the Greyjoy rebellion against you. Remember that, Robert? Oh, and this is Jon Snow, my sister's son." For all we knew, David might have been lying about his community. He and James might have been the only ones. It's only when they come for you do you realise how big they are and what you're up against. The show spoils that, and it's too dumb to understand. With the lack of infected in these episodes, it also undermines the threat of the infected on this world. It makes little sense the communities that understand they won't have food in the winter, which would be very apparent unless there was some kind of incident where they lost a lot of food, wouldn't just move in search of somewhere where food was more plentiful. During the Neolithic Age, hunter-gatherers would change location seasonally to avoid harsh winter environments, and return during summer to continue to hunt in those regions. However, it isn't just prehistoric humans that did this. Even today this happens. For example, in Qinghai, at the Qinghai Lake in Tibet, people travel from the highlands to the plains in winter and then back to the highlands in the summer. This is not year one of the outbreak. This is 20 years of learning to survive in this world. There is no way the people of David's community would have survived this long being this stupid and unprepared. But in this show, there is no reason why they aren't leaving. In the game, infected are literally everywhere, and leaving is quite likely to get you killed. So you can understand why they are scared to venture out, but in the show's reality, as I'm going to base their world on what we see and experience, to me, I think they would be a nomadic people given what we know, or already dead. As a writer, it is your job to justify the actions of your chess pieces. No excuse. So yeah, David wants a group to follow Ellie's tracks in the morning, find and kill Joel and bring Ellie back alive. The daughter of the man Joel killed demands they both die now. David smacks her across the face. He is her daddy now. He then proceeds to feed her, which seems obviously her father, but for once they don't straight up tell you. Weirdly, they made the creative decision to make all the food look revolting. It doesn't even look like it's cooked. It looks blood red. I'm pretty sure everyone agrees cannibalism is bad, but make the food look like food that people would eat. This is all just to make sure the audience knows that David is evil. His character has zero nuance whatsoever. There'll be no comeback. None of the community ever finds out that they were eating people, so all this build-up with the people here is just a waste of time. Ellie injects Joel with the penicillin. Luckily, they don't care enough about just killing strangers by loading the syringe with poison instead. The next day, Ellie hears the people search for them and tries to lead them away on horse, which I don't think they have a name. Troy Baker kills a horse. Rest in peace, Callus. You were a good horse. We will miss you. They knock out Ellie and throw her into a cage. Did they build this cage? It's in a cabin. I'm not entirely sure why this cage exists. In the game, these are two different locations, but they decided to just smash these two buildings together and don't have Ellie running around in a blizzard trying to escape. The final episode of the season is also the shortest of the season, so we need to light speed through the content to get it done. Joel kills the others who were left to hunt him down. He tortures and kills them to find out where Ellie was taken. Ellie finds out that they were eating people by seeing an ear left on the floor. Bit of a jump to conclusion, to be honest. They could have just tortured someone, but weirdly, David just admits to it. That's really going to build up trust there. Nice work. Unfazed, David attempts to groom Ellie by telling her how special she is, and only she can understand him. He offers her food, but smartly she kicks it away, unlike the game version of Ellie, who just gobbled up the food. Like, it makes sense if you're starving, but if you know they're cannibals, you're not going to just trust that they aren't giving you a person in your bowl. On the word of said cannibal. Personally, I don't find people eaters trustworthy. In the game, they were cutting up a torso, so it made more sense that you knew they were cutting it up for food. Ellie makes a play for the keys and breaks David's finger, but fails, and she is next on the menu. David and James go to chop her up in little pieces, but Ellie shocks them by revealing her bite mark and claims that David is infected, which I wonder if she could actually infect someone. She has the fungus. It doesn't control her, but maybe she can still infect others. Because, like, it is in her bloodstream, right? Or something. Like, it's got to be in there somewhere. It didn't die. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make the cure. During the distraction, Ellie kills Troy Baker. And whilst trying to leave, she sets the building on fire. David doesn't seem to care about the burning of the building. And after stalking her around the building, he attempts to assault her. Ellie breaks free and loses her mind, killing him. In the game, it isn't depicted so obviously, most likely due to the headlines of young girl getting assaulted in latest game by Sony. Instead, David is strangling her and says she doesn't know what he is capable of before she kills him. I think it was unnecessary anyway. It just feels like shock value. Game of Thrones was all about the R, so let's add that in too. How much of a villain can he be? He is creepy. He is a cannibal. He wants to children. Surprised they didn't have him throwing a sack of kittens in a river, or creating a harem like Crasta. I guess in the show they did add that he was also religious, so yeah, of course he was all about the child, huh? For fuck's sake. Unnecessary. She would still have trauma after the event as she got captured, knew they were cutting up and eating people, probably deep down she knew she ate someone herself, also almost got chopped up for food and then trapped in a fight for her life, situation, which resulted in her getting strangled, and only by chance did she survive. That's not, like, that's gonna mess you up, with or without the attempted assault. It comes across as if these writers were literally like, if this was my daughter, what are the worst things I could think of that she could go through? Listed them all out, and then just added them to David's character.
Feel that breeze, huh?
Joel runs into no one on his way to the lodge. Where are all the people of the community? Do their buildings burn down on a daily basis so they just ignore the smoke? Makes no sense whatsoever. The show just forgets about it being a community. Would have made more sense if they never showed the people. Nothing comes of it. We set up that the people were eating their dead. We set up that there are a bunch of people here. But it all just gets dropped. Waste of time showing any of that. There needs to be an edit that removes all the worthless crap in the season. This episode, other than the end, was pretty boring. They're just like giant cows. Episode 9. Ellie's pregnant mum flees from an infected and runs into a farmhouse that has an old tractor in a field. This farmhouse looks so much like the one in Last of Us Part 2, but that'd be weird if it happens to be the exact one. It's really cool that Ellie's mum is Ellie's voice actor from the game. It is really nice that they have included all the major voice actors. Anne locks herself in the bathroom, but the infected chasing her breaks in, and whilst Anne kills the infected, she is bitten and gives birth to Ellie in the struggle. Weirdly, Anna is as sweary as Ellie. Having a foul mouth isn't hereditary. They never meet. This is pretty dumb. So, Ellie's immunity comes from being born after her mother has been bitten. Now, I know this is dark, but if the Fireflies were so determined to save humanity, I would not put it past them to put two and two together after finding out Ellie is immune, and setting up a community somewhere where they get women pregnant and then infected to see if they can replicate the results then. If that worked, seeing if those immune people could pass it on to their children. Ellie would not have been killed in a hospital. She would be alive, but in a worse scenario unless she was willing. If that all worked out, then as they grew up, you could start feeding in those people into other communities to spread the immunity. Wouldn't that be your solution, rather than killing an immune person and hoping you get lucky with a cure? The Fireflies are massive idiots. It was cool to see Marlene and Anna together, but it was so short, and due to the circumstances, you didn't really get to see what their relationship was like, sadly. Joel and Ellie make their way through Salt Lake City. Ellie is struggling to deal with the trauma from the events that happened in Colorado. Joel tries to distract her, but nothing works until they happen upon giraffes that escaped from the zoo, just going about their lives. Joel wants them to turn around and go back to Tommy's, but Ellie says what she has been through and all they have done, it can't be for nothing. They have to finish what they started. This comes across like Joel has a vague idea of what is about to happen. If he thought they were just going to run tests and take blood, why would he be so eager for her not to continue? They stumble upon an old, abandoned medical area set up during the initial outbreak. Joel, completely out of character, talks about Sarah instead of shutting down Ellie like he would normally do. He opens up to Ellie. He tells her he almost ended it all. But it's only now, here with Ellie, that has helped him heal that wound, which is nice in the moment and actually makes me like Joel for the first time. But it is a bit of a spit in the face of Tess. Kind of comes across as she meant nothing. He can never be happy with her. Poor Tess. Beautiful set though. Looks amazing. Well done. Firefly Patrol stuns Joel and Ellie with a grenade and take them to the hospital. Joel wakes up in a hospital room with Marlene. She tells them that they are going to operate on Ellie, and they believe that this will be the key to creating a vaccine, so others will be immune. Joel doesn't care. I guess show Joel has forgotten to care about his brother now. In the game, Joel is a narcissist that only cares about himself, but show Joel was very intent on fighting Tommy when he thought he might be in trouble, but now doesn't care about him? He's not even torn? This is a bit of a conflict on how they've changed Joel's character in the show and what he's supposed to be doing according to the game's story. Show Joel definitely would have been at least a little bit torn on the ramifications of what he's about to do, but that wasn't shown at all. Marlene says that they did not tell Ellie she is about to be sacrificed as they didn't want to scare her, but really they just didn't want her to have the option of saying no. Losing at Boston and having so many Fireflies killed along the way, I think the Fireflies were on the verge of being disbanded, which is why they rushed to work on Ellie to see some kind of progress. Otherwise, rushing the whole thing doesn't make any sense. There's no real urgency to this. But this is headcanon. The writers probably just want attention and literally didn't even think about any kind of realism to their actions. Marlene has Joel escorted out and he'll be shot if he resists. Not only is killing Ellie stupid because there are no infected to worry about, but also she could be far more useful alive. Just saying. Turkey baster, a few donors, lots of immune for the future. Doesn't really think of the bigger picture. With how stupid and pointless a cure would be in the show's world, and how it would kill Ellie for practically no reason, it's no longer arguable what the right thing to do here is. Joel is 100% right to fight them. They're reckless idiots throwing away people's lives for nothing. The doctor is a butcher and just apparently likes to kill people on the operating table. Both sides still disregard Ellie as a human being, but there is no reason for this cure. No reason for this journey. Marlene comes across as a delusional moron. After Joel kills all the fireflies in a really nicely shot action sequence, he kills the doctor and takes Ellie. Marlene is waiting for them, and she tries to debate with him on the ethics of both of their decisions and the disregarding of Ellie's. I like this. I like that it finally gets addressed, but thanks to context, Marlene's argument is hollow. If it was in the game, it would be more impactful. That world is pretty hellish. Ellie wakes up in the car and actually asks about Marlene. About time. Yeah. Joel killed her though. Joel lies to Ellie and says the fireflies stopped looking for a cure. The car breaks down, which forces them to hike the rest of the way to Jackson. Sarah liked hiking. Joel compares Ellie to Sarah. Awkward. My dead daughter was taller than you. My dead daughter smiles more than you do. I changed my mind, Joel. Stop sharing. Abort. Ellie shares her first kill was Riley, her friend. She was more than that though, wasn't she, Ellie? But I guess you aren't that comfortable with Joel yet to share that much? I think this might have actually been my favourite episode of the season. I liked this version of Joel. The action sequence was really nicely done. And it is a real shame they shied away from things like that in the other episodes. Everything looked great. The acting was decent from pretty much everyone across the board. We had some Marlene love, sort of, and having Anna in it was great. So, this season as a whole, on the surface this appears to be a good adaptation, but it's so very wide of the mark. It does hit the keystones. Sarah dies. Ellie is immune. Tess dies. You get a car from Bill to make the journey to search for Tommy. Fireflies dying everywhere and abandoning places. The cannibals. The effect on Ellie. The final choice. But the series lacks the connective tissue that binds everything together and establishes the world. People are always like the story isn't about the zombies. It's about people. But that is a cop-out. The world isn't a problem without the infected. If this was a virus instead, then this story wouldn't happen. The risk of death and the reliance on each other is what bonds Ellie and Joel together. But their struggles are diminished. The journey is supposed to show us how the infected spread fear and death. How it has changed people. What people are doing to survive. All because they are trapped. The infection has ruined so many lives and continues to. Witnessing the consequences of Ellie not being the cure. The countless deaths that will occur until humanity just fades away. Communities are too spread out. Too few people. Won't even be that long before the end. The show fails at demonstrating what life is like and how bad it is. People are still doing the things they would be doing if the infected were everywhere, but because they are not, their actions make very little sense in context. Then you have the changes they made were for no reason and had no consequences. The infected were a hive mind, but that had zero effect on the story. What was even the point of introducing that? Did the writers forget that was added? What was the point of the tendril things? Was it just because they wanted to put it in Tess's mouth? Which is disgusting. I mean, it never happens again. It never gets brought up. We never see mouth tendrils. It just feels like an excuse to do that to her. And that's super messed up. My predictions weren't that accurate, but I was kind of taking the piss with them based on the changes that I had made previously. I did get it right that there weren't going to be any infected, and they were going to have Ellie drown, and they weren't going to have Ellie drown, which was the whole point of setting up that she couldn't swim. So I guess we'll just ignore that fact. I also knew that they would not change the key moments. I am surprised that they didn't have Ellie announce that Riley was their girlfriend, but I guess they never got that far. Also surprised that they never managed to resist not setting things in motion for season 2 early. So I guess good on you for not falling into that trap. Okay, so that's my thoughts on season 1. I have a few thoughts for season 2, so spoilers for season 2 after this point. You were warned. So with the changes to David and what we'll be getting with the Seraphites and the lack of infected apparently, the religious are the real monsters of The Last of Us. I'm curious how they will change season 2. I imagine there'll be very little infected and there'll just be Seraphites versus WLF even for 90% of the episodes, and Ellie being in the middle for season 2. And there'll be all Abby for season 3. I did not hate The Last of Us Part 2, but I'm also even less invested in the story in many ways than Part 1. So I think I should be happy with what they do if they make Ellie an unhinged psycho, Abby a badass, and Tommy taking the narcissistic reins. I wouldn't want them to change Lev's story. And I wouldn't want them to just make Abby's group just evil villains. If they don't do those things, I think I'll be okay. And I'm looking forward to season 2. Looking forward to season 2. As much as I criticize season 1. But these were just my thoughts rambling about season 1. And episode 8 and 9. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'd like to hear your views on this. What he said just doesn't make... Like, she's obviously got to know that he's talking bullshit. Because they would have just told... Like, Marlene would have sent her in the first place. Or, if they'd met them at Salt Lake City, they would have told them that they've tried on others and it didn't work. Instead of drugging Ellie and like putting her into a hospital gown. Like, Ellie's obviously not that fucking stupid.
Down there.
And the Fireflies are also gonna hunt you the fuck down. I mean, I would. I mean, you murdered a doctor, and that must be incredibly fucking rare to have one. Although, maybe training some others? I don't know, but still, losing a doctor like that, that's gotta be worth so much. And gotta cost so much.
Here, I got you.
Where's that not working? Oh.
Give me your hand. All right, come on.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston? Back when I was bitten, I wasn't alone. My best friend was there. And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So... she says... let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.